Cool.
Alright, it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It has. Yeah, that truck.
Fucking rubbish truck. Right, like, you sit down to do something and it's just noise.
I don't know, how well can they pick it up? How well can these things pick it up?
They'd be able to hear it, probably. I'll just remove the hum from the, with the magic of...
Yeah, magic of editing.
And
which we're arguably not great at, but we get things.
Hey, at least we can actually record. I got a MIDI keyboard now, so I can actually make a theme song for it.
Yeah, that's it. We can get music happening. Episode, whatever it is.
7 episode insert number here. Just 5. Episode 5.
Yeah. Well, what's it? Yeah. Did we end up uploading the last one we did?
I don't know. Can't remember.
Okay.
It's been kind of.
You know what? I'm gonna use my portable device here to
have a gander.
Yeah, to have a look real quick.
It's kind of been. Honestly, there's been nothing really to talk about, to be honest.
Nah, I mean, we've both been sort of doing our projects and stuff, but it's been...
Yeah.
You know...
Nothing really eventful.
Nah, not super eventful.
Today was kind of unplanned a little bit.
Yeah.
We're just having a really good conversation.
Yeah, I decided to record a little bit about it. I can find...
You know what we're talking about?
Nope.
There
we go. I was just looking for our
We were talking
page.
about, like...
5 was the last one we put up.
So this would be number 6.
This will be number 6.
But
And 5, wow, 5 was 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Man, we've been doing this for a while. It's like our first one was 9 months ago.
Yeah, yeah. And we still don't have any viewers, or listeners.
Nah, well, apart from my girlfriend who now lives here. So it's like...
Doesn't want to hear us anymore.
Yeah, that's it. Got sick of us. So they've all dropped from like 8 views to 1, and that's the view that we used to test it.
I'm sure we could... we could promote it somehow, but
I'm sure we could too, but it's like, do we want to?
not really.
Yeah.
I just want this.
I don't want it to take money, man. I don't want to.
Be authentic. I'm just gonna like put this on sleep.
Okay.
It's fucking distracting me.
Oh, watching the thing tick across.
Bar go up and down.
Yeah, but now I don't know whether we're recording or not, and it fucks me up. Yeah.
Well,
Awesome.
that's gonna turn back on.
All right. So what has happened since we last?
Fucking nothing, man.
Oh, we had the jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yeah, I mean we both did well.
Yeah, we both did all right. It's,
we almost burnt the house down on New Year's Eve with the
fireworks.
fireworks.
That was my fault. Yeah, I accidentally set fire to I don't know how many packets it was of sparklers all at once.
It was like
but it burnt
3
the
or
concrete.
4. It put a fucking black scorch on the cement.
Yeah.
I almost lit.
Yeah.
I had a packet. I had like a bunch in one hand, and I had one lit one in the other, and then one of the sparks fell off.
Yeah.
Chunk of it fell off into the one on my hand and set the whole
lot on fire, and they burn hot too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I basically did a similar thing with the ones on the ground. I had one, and I just carried it over the top of the pile, and just spark hit them, and that was it. Just they all went up. Still, that was fun.
It was funny.
Yeah. I guess it has been probably since New Year's that we might have been around that time. I recorded late last year, early this year.
Yeah, I think it was a good like 2 weeks after we recorded it. I actually uploaded it. But
that's fair.
There's nothing really nothing real news wise.
No, I got uni going back soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that.
Cracking.
Yeah, back into things, and then that'll be our excuse for not uploading, as opposed to
yeah.
we haven't done anything to upload it with.
It's like
We've been too busy to upload.
I think maybe we should do some Let's Play stuff at some point.
Oh yeah,
I
we
think
can
it'd
mix
be
it up
more
a bit.
interesting.
I mean,
we find a good game where we can talk shit like we normally talk shit whilst we play.
yeah, what would be a good game for
It'd be
that?
like any of like the Dead Risings or any of that sort of shit.
Yeah.
Where
you
we're
just did
just
Dead Rising
fucking around.
3, didn't you?
I just played that one, but I don't.
I
can do Dead Rising 2 or Dead Rising 1.
Yeah.
But we just got to be we could only play an hour at a time.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and uploading any longer than that's kind of painful.
Well, the thing is
Editing
like,
more than that is
are we
painful.
going to edit it, or are we just going to play the whole boring mess?
Oh, we're just gonna just leave it up there, man. I reckon.
And then just at
I
the
like
end,
that
at the end of the
unedited.
run, we'll just do like a highlights. So you could do like the video, like the 1 hour, like say we play 1 hour at a time. There's like I think guaranteed in Dead Rising 1 to be 6 hours of just gameplay.
Yep. Yeah, so
Okay.
it'd be like a 6-part thing if
But
we're doing an
then-
hour at a time.
Then you also need to level up a bit more.
Yeah, it's really hard to do just from level 1 to do a playthrough.
Yeah. So there'd probably be 10 hours worth of us playing. And then at the end of that 10 hours, we could do like a 2-hour highlight reel where we show the best bits or like all the boss fights or...
Yeah. Well, there's also... I have a thing in Dead Rising about not feeling comfortable unless I'm level 50. So...
level 50 run.
Yeah. Then you just lariat your way through the game.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty much all you need at that point.
But I think that'd be a fun project to do coming up.
Yeah, we could do that. Even some of those just... like sandboxy kind of games like Terraria or something.
Yeah, I think Starbound might be a fun one to play.
Yeah, well, I haven't really played a lot of Starbound.
Neither have I.
Yeah.
But again, it's like we have to be strict with the amount of time we're willing to commit.
Oh, yeah, because then it's like...
Because it's going to be an hour of Starbound, and then there's going to be at least like 2 hours or so of editing.
Yeah. Well, that's assuming that we do edit it down. I mean, if we ever... I think as long as we kind of keep talking in it, because when you get those big empty patches,
would you set it up so we're both sitting next to each other playing?
Probably. I think that would be a good way of doing it, because that way you can kind of like reflect on what the other person's doing and you can talk to each other a bit easier.
Yeah,
that works. That seems to work.
Then we'll have to have like 2 video feeds and like swap between them.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out though.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Single player, like a single screen game, is easier for us video.
Yeah. Then we just have to have two mic setups and
audio is easy. I've got all the software now, which is it's actually been so fucking great. I was real hesitant about buying software, but sometimes it's just like once you've done it, once you put that money into the tool and the tool actually works, and it just makes your life easy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to trial a theme. I'm going to write a little theme at some point for the start of this episode, the Spud and Bonsai theme.
Yep.
I don't know how it's going to go, but
it's the sound of dropping a bunch of potatoes in a bucket.
Yeah,
that'll be the theme. My part of the theme, you can record something, and I'll just like drop a bunch of potatoes in a bucket.
The Spud and Bonsai show.
Yeah, it's just like ding, ding, just
Try to have the sound of a potato.
Yeah, well, that's what
either
I'm
that or
for.
just made like an ocarina out of a potato.
Well, I think you can do that. You can dry them out a fair bit. It's not like I haven't played ocarinas before. I did that for a little while.
Oh yeah, you did too.
Yeah,
that would have been fun.
Yeah, honestly, they're just like a shitty wind instrument. They're not that good. Everyone's hyped on them because of Ocarina of Time. You know, that was released fucking 20 years ago.
I actually thought about making one out of clay and baking it.
Yeah, I had like a little one, just like a.
I just don't know when to fucking. Problem is like the house we're renting at the moment. The yard is just a little bit too small to actually light fires.
Yeah.
And dick around with that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd be trying to smith and shit like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot of room, especially considering that we've gardenified the
backyard.
Yeah, I'll planted all the edibles in there.
Well, I mean, it's working. Like herbs and stuff. We almost got all the herbs we ever need in the garden. I just have trouble with coriander. Coriander's it's not that it's bad. I'm one of those despicable people that like it.
I just don't like it on principle, rather than actually not liking it.
You'd be surprised. I put a fuckload.
Yeah, I know. People put it in everything, man. And I just don't think about it.
Like dinner last night.
Yeah.
That had coriander.
Yeah, that's fine.
Which is really funny because I think Holly hates coriander. I just didn't tell her.
Probably. She hates a lot of things.
Like coriander's hard to grow because it's one of those plants. It flowers and then dies.
Okay.
So you have to fucking plant it every year or something.
That's really annoying. That seems like a pretty kind of big design flaw, right?
Well, I assume that's why a lot of those plants. A lot of those herbs that do that are the common ones you buy in a spice container at the supermarket. Yeah, because I assume they would have just grown a fuckload of it and then dried it and then ground it up or whatever back in the day.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But nowadays, man, you just grow in a pot or something and...
Yeah, too easy.
Fucking oath.
Oh, fucking oath, mate.
Fucking earth, mate.
Yeah. I don't know. So what were we talking about before?
Oh, we're talking about
we were talking about privatize. Like, I don't even know how we started talking about it. We were talking about privatization of pharmaceuticals, which seems to be a pretty bad idea.
We're talking about how
need to work on our segue skills.
Yeah. I don't know how to ride a Segway. Do you know how to ride a Segway?
No, I just I just speak.
So when everyone says the Segway skills, I just think of those like the stupid
bikes,
two-wheeled things that fat people use. To navigate. We're talking about how capitalism. I fucking hate that. I'm just gonna say, I'm sick of people banging on capitalism as being the problem with modern society.
Yeah, same.
But
especially when they do it on their iPhones.
Yeah.
And shit like that.
Yeah. Off their MacBook Pro.
Yeah. And fucking sitting in a cafe with their crazy, ridiculous coffee that I don't even know what people buy, man. It's like a soy fucking...
Sold in the shell of an avocado.
Yeah. Yeah, have you seen those avocini things?
I think that has to be bullshit.
It has to be a joke, right?
Yeah.
I mean... Especially nowadays, avocados are like fucking $10 each.
Fucking ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Anyway.
I had one the other day. I felt like a freaking gentleman.
Yeah.
Good sir, please do pass the Chardonnay with my avocado.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm fucking sick of avocados. But that's part of that's working in...
the kitchen.
Yeah, working in the cafe. So, avocados can fuck off.
But what we were talking about was how... big corporations have nothing to keep them ethically in check anymore.
Yeah.
And that's created a lot of issues.
Yeah, and part of that was because if your goal over time is simply making money, then you really don't have anything to keep you in check over a period longer than a few years, because you're more inclined to follow your profit margins and trends and things like that.
Yeah.
But if you have a higher goal, I don't know, for example, helping people, whatever the fuck that can mean.
Yeah.
It's like, that can kind of keep you in check over a longer period of time, and it'll keep you aligned, and you can have money making in there, but...
Well, I just like...
For things like pharmaceuticals, right, it stops you charging thousands of dollars for treatment that doesn't cost thousands of dollars to make and potentially save lives.
There was just recently that I was talking about it, this Irish company, I think they bought a bunch of painkillers, like this special type of painkiller, that apparently was used to... It costs about $36 or something, but now it costs over $1,000.
Yeah. Yeah, just jack the price up on it.
Yeah, but the problem is, it's either like if the government had that on a public... fucking... You know how there's some medicines on the,
like
on
subsidy list.
PBS or whatever? It's like the subsidy ones, where government will foot the bill for most of it, and you have to pay like...
Yeah, you pay like a token
amount.
Yeah.
So either they're trying to exploit that system, or they're just trying to jack up a common drug to force people to pay a ridiculous amount. Or like the third way is they could be trying to force people to go on a different drug.
Yeah. Something else that's less expensive but they still own, or...
Yeah, or either less expensive, or maybe it's more addictive. Because
that's part of
the
it.
problem is, like with pharmaceutical companies, is they've got very little motivation to make people not...
Yeah.
They got little
make
motivation
people
to make people well and self-sufficient. The longer they can keep you on the pills, the more money they make.
Yeah. There's also... And while I think they probably do that, I would also like to think that, you know, like doctors and dentists and shit can do the same thing, but I like to think that they're more interested in actually, like, making you healthy.
Well, I think they would, because they have that one-on-one person...
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure some of them just want
connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I've got, like, my teeth are alright, but they're not perfectly straight, and I remember going to a dentist as a kid, and they're like, oh, you need braces. Like, my mouth works. I still
chew things.
I still chew things. Some of my teeth are a little bit crooked.
Yeah, same. I've got a bunch on the bottom that are a bit skew with, but...
But it's like, does that affect you at all?
No, not really. They just kind of look crowded. They don't hurt or anything.
Right.
I mean...
So is that just the dentist trying to make a quick $5,000 off something?
Yeah,
that you don't
pretty
really
expensive. They'll braces
fucking
too.
Oath.
Like,
it's not just having them put on. It's the like every 3 months you gotta go get tightened, and
when you fucking knock a gate off on them, because you inevitably will, you gotta go have that re-glued and rewired, and it's just a massive fuck around, right?
Fucking oath.
I remember my little sister had braces for a while. She kept knocking gates off on them and stuff like that.
Well, that's a problem. It's like me as a kid, I'd fucking knock gates off every second week.
Oh yeah, you're playing football and shit.
I'm playing football, it's been me.
Yeah. Well, it's just like eating an apple.
Yeah,
knocks them off. It's like you can't eat hard things like just like eating a raw carrot. I used to fucking numb the shit out of carrots when I was a kid. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I fucking hear you, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, those pharmaceutical companies are just fucking dog.
Yeah, there's that, and then we were also talking about like the ridiculousness of the almost like the political spectrum. I think you should put it. It's like one line, which is crazy. It's like you're either on the left or you're on the right.
Oh yeah,
and it's like it's hard to be in the middle or have, because I find that I have tendencies that kind of go both ways.
Same. It's
like I'm pretty liberal on like weapons laws and things like that, but I'm also pretty open, and I think most people are, like about gay marriage and whatever. It's just like, fuck, just let people wed each other. What the fuck difference does that make to? And people harp on about the sanctity of marriage being ruined, but it's like I still see celebrities marrying and getting divorced every fucking couple of months. They had that show recently, Married at First Sight. Like, if you want anything that ruins sanctity, surely it's that kind of stuff, right?
I don't even see the point of people's obsession with marriage. The thing is, like, I have the problem with is like religiously marriage. So I'm going to call religious marriage a capital M.
Yeah.
Like, so you got marriage
the,
and like
verb of doing marriage.
Yeah, it's only the
verb. Yeah, it would be a verb.
But the thing is, it's like the only value of marriage is whatever the individual puts on it. So if you don't give a fuck about marriage, and some guy next to you down the road does, and he gets shitty that you don't care about your value of marriage, I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
Like, why would I put value on something that you?
Yeah, just because you value
it or don't value it.
Yeah.
Like, how does that affect my value of something?
Yeah, it shouldn't. There's also...
But it doesn't. It doesn't in any other way in society.
No, it doesn't.
Like, if you value fucking... It's like the neighbor across the road. He has this rare number plate. He bought this number plate, like it was a 5-letter word. And he was telling me the other day that to him it's... Some guy offered him like $100,000 for that number. Fucking oath, man. $100,000 for a fucking number plate.
Wow.
It's like, I couldn't sell it for that amount. And I was like, in my mind, are you fucking crazy?
$100,000.
Your car is worth maybe $5,000, man. It's $100,000. Like,
shit.
Why is like a 5-letter number?
Is that like one of the number plates on his bike or something?
No, it's on that big fuck off weird van thing he's got.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's got a 5-letter word on it.
Oh, wow.
I don't obviously want to say it because it's so obvious.
Yeah, well then you find out who this guy is and then where he lives and
social engineer who our identity is. But he's got a 5-letter word and some guy apparently offered him $100,000 and he's like, I just couldn't do it. I'm like, in my back of my mind, it was like, dude, I'd do it for 10. Like, fuck.
Yeah, for sure, right?
It's just a fucking number plate for a shit car. It's like, why?
What happens then if like for whatever reason your insurance or your registration lapses? Because you got like 2 months leeway, right?
Something like that.
To pay basically in the same rego account, and after that you got to go get a new number plate. I recently had to go through a bunch of car shenanigans selling my car, and that's if you're like, there's a different form if you're selling it with registration to if you're selling it without registration past 2 months, and it's like instead of recording the rego, you got to do like VIN number and shit like that.
Okay, yeah.
Because they don't have the rego on file anymore because it's lapsed.
But the thing is, it's like that's perceived value, 100%.
Oh yeah. It's like it's fucking bit of metal with some letters on it. Like, I'll go stamp you one of those. Like, fuck. Obviously won't do anything, but
like for me, it's like.
Yeah, valued goods versus... Like,
yeah, but it's up to the individual to decide the value of something.
Yeah, value's like that in every respect.
So, a man there, like, 3 different opinions. One guy thinks that number plate is worth priceless. Yeah. One guy thinks it's worth $100,000, and me, I think it's probably worth fucking significantly less than that.
Yeah. It's like... Yeah.
For a fucking car number.
I wouldn't pay $10 for it.
I wouldn't go and spend any money to get a personalised number plate.
It's like, for us, it's worthless. For one guy, it's priceless. And one dude, it's worth at least $100,000. Maybe he didn't have more to offer.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
Right.
$100,000.
Perceived value is such a fucking funny game.
Yeah, it is. But, like, a lot of those kind of things like that, beauty's like that. It's like perceived. It's... What's that saying? It's in the eye of the beholder. It's like it's 100% like that. Yeah. Right? Musical taste. It's like that too. It's like, oh man, I would, like I paid $10,000 to get a backstage pass to go and meet this musician.
Yeah, fuck that.
It's like, I'd be like, yeah, fuck that. I'm like, I wouldn't even pay $100 to go in the gate. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, but if like Judd Reed came along,
well, yeah,
or
then there's
something
different.
like that.
It's something like that. It's like I'll pay $100 to go to a seminar with him. No worries.
But again, it just comes back down to perceived value. And the
is.
thing at the end of the day is you don't judge the value of seeing a musician based on what the opinion of some guy who lives
down the road
thinks. And I just don't get why people get angry about shit like that.
I think part of that logic with the like the weird view on having other people getting married is it's almost like the same logic that you get angry at other people eating food you can't eat when you're on a diet. It's like, oh man, this guy's eating donuts, fuck that guy, I can't eat donuts. It's like, I don't think I can't eat donuts, so you're not allowed to eat them too. It's like, it's the exact same thing, right? It's like, I don't agree with your viewpoint, so
therefore you can't do it?
You can't have it, yeah. It doesn't meet my sensibilities, you can't do it either. It's like, fuck off trucks. God damn.
Yeah, rubbish truck again. Yeah. How many times have they come past now?
Well, I've heard them twice this morning.
Maybe they went maybe they go up the street and then...
Yeah, come back down. That's kind of how I think they'd probably do it, because that street's...
Pretty narrow.
Yeah, especially when there are cars parked, right?
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah,
by the time they've got all the cars, and there's a lot of people park out there, so... Goddamn suburban bullshit.
Suburbia.
Yeah.
Problem is that road out the front's like a shortcut for a lot of people, and fucking
I fucking hate that. People just use it to like get around corners, like
There's a main road up the road, so they used to get around that corner.
Names. But yeah, that's just like get past traffic lights or just get around.
It's not faster though, I don't think.
I don't think it is either. Especially by the time everyone else is doing it, and then you got to pull over and wait while 3 cars go past you and then pull out again.
Oh, and because they've got all the speed bumps on the road too. Yeah. It's not like you can fang up there.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing.
Yeah, well, that's probably why they're there, mate.
Yeah, don't imagine that fucking wall out the front's going to do much.
No.
Comes into it.
Fucking screw on through.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's like privatization's really weird like that, because for the most part, it's a really good idea to have.
Are we going back to the?
We got to keep talking about something, right?
Jumping around.
Yeah.
Like we need to segue into the conversation.
Back to, I don't know, talking about privatisation versus non. Like, there are some things for your government that you don't want privatised. Like, in my opinion, that's education, healthcare, and security, at which point that kind of means police.
Yeah.
Police-styled work. And so
people who enforce the law.
Yeah, the people who enforce the law of the land. Like, you don't want those owned by a private corporation. That's a fucking bad idea. Yeah. I think education is also a bad idea. Like, you don't want, and this is half the problem I'm seeing with the university system at the moment. Is like when they start focusing on what courses do we make the most money off offering. Okay. It's like, well, all of a sudden you have subpar areas where maybe they're not as popular, but you still need them. So it's like some of those. That's
like Swinburne's ever trying to shut down apparently the philosophy.
Yeah, department. They are. They hit them pretty hard, and they take away a bunch of units, which is kind of shit, because I think philosophy is still a useful thing to have in your society, and it's something that you do want to develop. Yeah. You know, it takes a certain kind of person to do it. It's not for everyone, for sure. But
honestly, I think like philosophy is going to be one of those courses that is going to move online. It's going to be one of the first ones to move online.
But it's weird, because when you're
going to miss those open discussions, though.
Yeah, you are. It hurts. It hurts philosophical discourse or discussion.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to have. You're not going to learn how to articulate and formulate ideas unless you have some conversation.
Yeah, you're not going to learn how to formulate them on the fly. Anyway, one of the cool things about that I discovered about writing essays, or just writing in general, is that it makes you figure out where your ideas are lacking.
Yeah.
Because you hit one spot and you're like, oh man, I know loads about this subject, and then it's like, oh, we'll go write 3,000 words on it, and you get to about 1.5 and you're like, I've run out of things to say, gotta go read more stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really useful for showing stuff like that, or you thought that you knew step by step the procedure through an argument, and it turns out that one of them you weren't quite as familiar with, so you gotta go re-look that up, and it's like, it's pretty cool for stuff like that. But you miss the live adaptation of your ideas in response to another person.
Yeah, but like you could be writing an essay that's like, let's say, because a lot of the times when you build an argument, you're building it off like an axiom or a real fundamental thing, and then
it has a bedrock for sure.
About four steps later, you're completely forgotten about
the thing you started at.
But when you have a discussion with someone might point out that one of those initial fundamental things is actually flawed somehow.
Yeah, that's one of the big things.
Can collapse your whole argument, because if the bedrock's flawed, then your final conclusion is going to be flawed as well.
Yeah, for sure, and that's I think that's part of the reason that, because I'm pretty big against that whole extremist left movement. I'm pretty anti-extremist everything.
Yeah, for fucking oath you are.
Yeah, it's but one of the problems with that is that the thing that it's based on is fundamentally wrong, which is it's more or less rehash Marxism for whatever that is. But that started out as as an idea about economic policy, which is kind of how socialism and communism started. It's for governing the flow of money and making sure that no one person gets too rich.
Yeah.
Which is sort of what it started as, and now it's like...
It evolved into a political system.
Yeah, it's changed. And so one of the things that French dude Foucault, he used to write about the differences in social power. And one of the structures that he kind of ends up using is... it's almost like a Marxist thing, and so he changes it from economic power to social power. But it doesn't really work like that, because social power is not the same thing as economic power.
Oh no, fuck no.
Yeah, and so it's like you've taken this tool that wasn't particularly good at the job it was originally.
Or a structure?
Well, I like to think of it as a tool. It's a tool for socialism is a tool for economic management.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what it does. What it doesn't do is it doesn't do social management, which is kind of what a government does.
Yeah.
It's not really what a government does. It's what
a part of the government does.
Yeah, and so it's not a system for governing people, it's a system for governing money.
Yeah.
And so when you apply it to governing people kind of don't act the same way money does. They're not the same thing. So it kind of doesn't work very well.
Can't just if you have two people, you don't have like...
Well, it's not a really bad way of looking at two people is the number two.
Yeah.
Because it's,
it's not, yeah.
It's not how people work. But, so there's that problem. And then there's also like...
Well, like that system completely devoids people of individuality for it to work, right?
And that's, you can see that. There's a bunch of really, really fucked up things that happen in that. And one of them is with the gender equality debate, which is a weird one. One of the things that happens is that they go, you need to have, let's say you need to have more women in the workplace. That's a pretty common one. For whatever that means, what workplace, for example, in nursing, because it's already like a 70% ratio of women to men in nursing, most of the time they're talking about the business world.
Yeah.
That seems to be what everyone wants to fucking talk about. But when you look at, we need to have more women in the workplace. Okay, well, what does that mean? You need more womanly attributes in the workplace? You don't want it as governed by, like, aggressiveness, you want more caring. Like, what exactly are you trying to say? You need more actual people with vaginas in the workforce? Is that what you're saying? Because then it gets down to the other side of it, which is men and women are biologically the same, which is ridiculous. If they were, why do people get hormone therapy when they change gender?
I read an article about what that guy was trying to actually say about biologically
the
same, and I think it's not what he means biologically the same is not like biology. Like I have to reread the article.
What's the term from Brave New World? It's all people are physiochemically equal.
Well, yeah, I think it was something got to do with like.
Not that you quote Brave New World for reality.
Biologically equal. He was talking about like XY chromosome distribution. And like how it's not actually like it's not a quantized you either this, you either this, you either this. You can kind of your genetics can kind of fall somewhere in between.
Yeah, which is fine, but there's like there's more going on than that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's like so when you're looking at that, my main problem with that argument is that if everyone...
I still think it's a ridiculous argument.
It's a strange argument.
It's a ridiculous argument to then abstract, okay, you're going to have these minorities who don't fall biologically either one sex, and therefore the whole system's fucked.
Yeah.
Like, you can't throw the baby out with the...
No, and that's the other thing. It's like, well, what kind of percentage are you talking about that doesn't meet this? Because it's got to be like low one...
It's
100%.
very low, but the
Right.
problem is, it's like you're going to have outliers in every theory or something.
You do. That's why you can't have an overarching theory about how history works.
Yeah, because
There's outliers.
Yeah.
Right? It's like...
But what do you do? Like, statistically, normally you just, for the sake of statistics, you normally just eliminate those, just ignore those ridiculous outliers.
That's why bell curves are kind of useful.
Yeah,
they kind of
you
plot
sort of
enough
concentrate
of that
on the
on
middle.
most of the people that follow the trend. And so... Which is kind of how you have to look at it when governments make policies, because it's like, oh, do we make a policy that suits 98% of our people, or do we make a policy that suits 2%?
Well, that's the problem, right?
Yeah, and so you get 2% of people that are not going to be happy, but you're going to get that kind of like, you can't please everyone because people want the opposite to what somebody else wants.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't please everyone, it doesn't happen. And what was the point I was originally going? Oh, yeah. Before I get off it too much, part of the problem with that everyone is the same thing is that then it doesn't... like, they claim everyone's the same and that you should celebrate differences, but if everyone's the same, there's no differences.
Yeah, I know. It's completely doublethink. It's a doublethink.
It is.
I've always pointed that out. It's like, I had this argument once with a girl I used to hang out with at uni. She was studying law, so we had a lot of debates about especially women equality, and I just said one day, it's like, if you got promoted to a position of management above me on sheer fact that you're female and not on merit, it's like, I wouldn't want to actually work under you. I'd have no respect for you. And she got so upset at that statement. It's like, you don't like, let's just remove gender out of the discussion of, say, who gets to be the leader.
Which is probably a good idea to do.
Right? It should be 100% merit-based.
Yeah,
like,
who does
your
the
ability,
best job.
who you, like, some people you naturally want to follow, regardless if they're female or what.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you pick that person to be the team leader or the manager or the boss? It's like, I don't want to work under someone who only got there because of some, like...
Yeah, because of some attribute that has absolutely no standing on their ability to do the job.
Yeah.
And one of the things I reckon happens when you have someone like that in charge is that they kind of know that they're not there because they're good at the job. And that kind of undermines their confidence, and so they get more inclined to do things like micromanaging. They're checking, oh, are you actually doing the thing I assigned you to do, or are you just going to ignore me because you don't think that I'm good enough at the job?
You already got that self-doubt.
So you've already got a bit of a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
And then it just goes further into alienating your team if you're really not careful.
Yeah, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Ridiculous.
You can't argue that we all should be individuals and then say there is no difference between individuals.
Well, it's like, you have to respect my individuality, and then I'm going to lump you together as either your... And this is another strange thing in that I was getting screamed at in one of my classes by a self-professed I guess she was a transgender person.
Oh, jeez.
And so it's like,
getting yelled at. I could just imagine that, and you're like, "You bitch! I could fucking kill you with
well,
my bare hands."
Just like, there's obviously that going on. It's like, look, anyway, but it's like yelling at a bunch of us in class because more or less what happened is we were discussing communication methods, and someone said that Aboriginal peoples didn't invent the steam train.
Yeah, obviously.
Okay, so, and this is pretty... I'm
so what was
fairly
what was the argument? Was the fact that they didn't have any method of
recording?
So
that was basically the point, was that they didn't have a method of recording, like recording information in the way that of like schematics and a fully fleshed out written language and mathematics and things like that.
That makes sense. You need that. The problem is you can't hold all that information in your brain. You need somewhere to... like,
you need somewhere to offload it, especially if you need other people to work on the job with you.
Yeah.
Like, I imagine building a steam train from hand by yourself, rails included, is probably going to be pretty difficult.
Fucking earth.
So... Yeah. So anyway, that was more or less the argument, is that because
we need written... So the argument was we need written information so we can like pass it down. So that you can
record information and give it to other people in a manner that won't then be misconstrued.
Yeah, and therefore we can build upon more knowledge.
Use and build on.
Yeah.
Right, so that was kind of what we were talking about, and this guy's gone...
An example
of this is that, and he wasn't saying in any way that they weren't a developed society, because obviously they have like a huge... It's kind of like shamanism, right? Yeah. Shamanism's really in depth and has like a lot of stuff going on. and is kind of viewed in maybe not as good a light because it looks non-sophisticated. It is pretty sophisticated, but it's religiously sophisticated.
It's like any sort of culture.
Yeah, it is. And cultures so that's not what he was saying. That's not what he was saying. He was saying that they don't have a method of writing down schematics in enough detail to make a steam engine.
Yeah.
And anyway, so this has been misconstrued by the person giving the
feminist chick.
Yeah, the feminist chick.
Fuck, she'd hate the fact that we called her a chick.
Oh yeah, look, I don't know. This is one of the things, because it was like she didn't seem to mind so much about this stuff. It's like, well, I think I was saying to you before. It's like, out of all of the experiences I've had with gay people and with transgender people, for the most part, they don't give a shit about. As long as you're not being a dick.
Yeah,
they kind of don't
care. Like a fucking normal
so they're just
person.
a fucking person, right? You just treat them like a person, and they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, so he's gone. Yeah, like Aboriginals didn't invent the steam train.
Correct.
Okay, and you can. I'm pretty sure a quick Google search will fucking ratify that Aboriginals did not invent the steam train, nor have they probably made a steam train in their own culture. I don't think they even
smith metal, mate.
I don't think they did.
They didn't have any metal.
Don't think they did. I'm pretty sure that they
used sticks and rocks. They had very primitive technology.
Yeah,
let's
technologically.
Technologically, okay, they were very primitive.
Yeah, not in... Anyway, so, this was misconstrued as our culture is better than theirs.
Well, by what measure?
Well, that was the question. We didn't get that far. Okay. Obviously, it was... She assumed that because we have a better system of transferring technical information, that we are superior all round, was maybe the assumption drawn. But anyway, she went right off at this dude. Like, right off at him. And then a bunch of us, like one by one, was like, I don't think that's what he was saying. I think he said that they didn't invent the steam train.
Yeah, he's just saying that they didn't have a form of written...
he's just saying that they didn't invent the steam train. That's what he said. And she's gone right off. And, more and more of us got involved. And it's just like, no, I think he said... they didn't invent the steam train, And anyway, so she ended up screaming at us that we were a bunch of... Oh, man, what was the term she used? It was white cisgendered males, I think. There was something else in there too. Anyway, and then we all needed to be quiet and let some of the women speak. And most of the chicks hadn't been talking in the class for one reason or another. And so we all just
not even did she not address her argument... When presented with information that her argument was flawed, she then changed the subject completely.
Yeah, she then went to that whole ad hominem thing. And this is one of the things that cracks me up, right? Is that if you want to be respected...
Ad hom being...
being attacking the person, not the argument.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, one of the... And this is the thing that cracked me up, right? Is that you want to be respected as an individual for your own views and stuff. So you want to be respected as a, transgender woman.
Yeah.
Whatever that means. What does that mean? Anyway, so it's like you want to be respected as that. You want to be respected as, as someone who supports women's rights and who doesn't, for whatever that is. And then you want to go and lump every person of the color of their skin in one sentence. You've lumped together people based on the color of their skin, their sexual proclivity, their gender, all in one thing, and told them, and then proceeded to tell them to be quiet, to silence their voice,
because they're somewhat inferior to the women.
But it's like if you don't want to do it, say like, hey, you can't fight for the rights of the people, and fight for the rights of people's freedom to express sexual orientation. Freedom to not be restricted by colour of their skin, freedom to not be restricted by the sex of their birth, and fight for all of that, and then turn around and draw all of those into one insult and tell people to shut up.
We've got a word for this, Clockman. It's called being a hypocrite.
Yes, I know what it is. It's like
I would have told her to go get fucked, you fucking hypocrite.
It wasn't useful at that point. She'd worked herself up into enough of a frenzy.
I would have kept going, man.
Nah, it's not useful, man.
I know it's not useful, but it's fun. So this is where we're a bit different.
It is and it isn't.
I'm a dick.
But it's not fun because then I have to go. Not only do I have to put up with her in this class because it's right at the start of the semester, I have to then put up with her in every single class afterwards.
You just keep harassing her until she like.
Nah, it's not useful, and I don't need to.
It's not really harassing. Philosophically defeating her.
Well, yeah, there's that too because I squashed a few people in a couple of my classes actually. One of them was like this ultra leftist dude, and he just wasn't well thought out. I think his heart was in the right place, but he just wasn't well thought out, and so I typically just like every time he said something that was kind of dumb, and I just like, yeah, but you can't do it because of these reasons, and it's like, yeah, he got really shitty at me. By the end of the semester, he didn't get up and leave, and he didn't crack the shits, but he typically didn't have much recourse for anything, and I could tell that he didn't like me by the end. But that was fine.
This is what annoys me too. Is why would you take? So you've thought up an opinion. I don't know. It could be it's been influenced by something you've read online,
which it
or
probably
whatever,
has, which is fine.
Which is fine. I got no issues with like a lot of my opinions have been. They're not like original because like I've adopted them, but I've thought about them enough so I've understand them and understood them and made them my own.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is kind of how that should work.
But then like if I present my opinion to someone and someone else defeats it,
well, you go away and you think about it.
Well, I go away and think about it and go, hey, maybe that person's right. Or if that person's right, let's understand it from their point of view. But why would you take it personally, especially when you're presenting your opinion out there, for it to be criticised. Why else would you present an opinion if you didn't want it to be criticised?
If you didn't want it to be criticised, yeah.
You either
people don't think enough about what they do or why they're doing it.
But it's like if you're presenting your opinion, you're presenting it in a way that you think it's probably better than the one I have. Therefore, you're inadvertently trying to dismiss my opinion.
Yeah.
And if you have an opinion that's better than mine, I probably will adopt some of it.
Yeah, or
disagree with it.
Yeah, this is one of the things I said to this dude. It was like right at the start of the semester. Was he had something? He's like, I don't even know why we're listening to these people. I think he was talking about listening to people opposing gay marriage, and like, okay, whatever. And then I basically kind of brought up that one of a useful skill to have, like, just because you shouldn't shut down people's speech, right? That's one of the things about a healthy society, I think we were talking about before, is like you don't want to shut down people's speech, you want to out-argue their speech. Yeah, like you want to out-reason it, you want to outwork it.
Is being dismissive a method of arguing people's speech?
No, because you don't meet the ideas put forth, you just tell them to not put forth ideas. It's like it's not quite the same thing. It might defeat the speech for sure, but it's like it's not defeating it. It's not being better at the job it's supposed to do than that thing, which is kind of how you should defeat it.
I'm a very dismissive person. That's probably my flaw when it comes to opinions. I don't. If you present something that I've like already either thought through as being shit, and decided that like, okay, you're left wing, everyone is gender fluid, blah 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 blah, respect individuality, I'm just going to try to dismiss that immediately because I don't care for it anymore. But there's a trap in that as well.
Well, there is, and one of the things
being dismissive.
One of the things I noticed, and I try really hard not to do it, and
to
varying degrees of success and to varying degrees of use, right? Because sometimes it just ends up you getting really frustrated. But one of the things I do is I try and listen to, like, I assume that everyone knows something I don't, and that is worth listening to enough to find out.
Very Jordan Peterson of you.
Well, yeah. I don't know where I got the idea from. Probably got it off him. But it turns out that that's a really useful thing because there's a couple of times that I've discovered a new viewpoint on an idea that I didn't agree with, and then was able to look at that a bit further.
And then you had like a new angle to...
A new angle. Well, and even what that leads to is if I still don't like the idea, because one of the things I was saying to this guy is about the ability to entertain an idea without accepting it.
Yeah.
That's a useful skill to have.
100%.
You mull things over in your mind, figure out whether they're worthwhile. Don't just dismiss things.
You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then it gives you a further understanding into the ideology as a whole, and then if you need to, you know, because like I'm trying to get into professional philosophy, and so one of the things I'm kind of doing under my own time is I'm amassing as much about this thing as I can, so that when someone attacks me with it, I can soundly.
I just had this vision of me going into professional philosophy. It's just like a UFC kind of entrance.
Yeah. Yeah.
First professional bout. It's Philosopher Lachlan.
Professional, yeah, as opposed to amateur.
Amateur philosophy.
Yeah, so I've had 3 amateur debates. I'm 3-0 on my amateur record. Yeah,
actually, that'd be a real funny skit, wouldn't it?
It probably would be. Yeah, you could really work that. It's
good, like
So one of the things I'm trying to do is I'm trying to amass as much as I can about this particular kind of argument, because I'm sure someone's going to try and slam me with it at some point if I get in that field.
Yeah,
right,
for sure. I mean,
so
that's
it's like I'd rather kind of have the tools I need before the point. Anyway.
Well, it's like the another fighting analogy is you got to like know how to fight before you fight.
Before you fight, right? Yeah.
You look at all those UFC guys who were like, especially in the early days, who were just like,
they just come in and just like,
they're
brawled
just
a lot.
Yeah, they're just either brawlers or they're like security guards who were like jacked.
Yeah.
And then they came in, and for like 1 or 2 fights, they were alright until people figured out, hey, these guys can't actually fight. They can just steamroll me.
Yeah.
So I just like chill for 30 seconds.
Yeah,
and then
wait till they punch themselves out. And then, that's why Hoist Gracie was so good, right? Because he's one of the few people, not only did he have a skill set that nobody really had an answer for.
Yeah.
He also, like, he had that, it's just like people just come and go crazy, and then he just catches them with something, because that's what a trained fighter does.
Let's put a bookmark in this conversation. Yeah. Finish off your previous argument before we talk about fighting.
Oh man, what were we?
You're talking about you're going to get slammed.
Well, yeah, I'm probably going to get slammed at some point, because it's kind of all through the humanities is that ultra-leftist, I don't believe in biology, gender studies approach. That's another thing. I actually had a look at the gender studies textbook. It's weird, man.
What?
I wanted to have a look at it because I want to know what's in there.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff they're talking about in that unit, and it's strange. It's like they just talk about social situations and then draw conclusions that
are outside that domain of.
Well, it's like they draw conclusions that if you had a different way of looking at things, you wouldn't necessarily draw.
Yeah. So they're answering questions that's outside that domain of.
A little bit, yeah. It's like, or they're
using like the tool outside of where you should use it.
Yeah, a little bit. But another thing is like, and this is the problem with.
If you only have a hammer, a screw looks
an awful lot like
a nail, right? Yeah. But it's completely different.
Yeah, you don't treat the two the same. They don't work like that.
Oh, it doesn't.
Yeah. Not much feel like fucking things up anyway.
Well, that's what my opinion is of that. Because we were talking about this the other day when we talked about had this philosophy idea of there being different domains of questions and answers.
Yeah.
So within one domain of questioning and answering,
we're talking about invalid questions.
Yeah, invalid questions. So you might ask a question, say, "What is for dinner?" And if you answer "red Ferrari," that's clearly not an acceptable.
Yeah, that's an invalid answer for sure.
Right.
And that was the interesting thing. It was deemed invalid through the purpose of the question.
Yeah.
And so then can you have that the other way around and have like an invalid question?
Yeah.
Because you can have invalid answers. That's entirely possible.
Yeah.
Through that. So it's like, well, what makes an invalid question? And then that would be the domain in which the question is asked in. So if the domain is figuring out what to have for tea, then asking, do you have guitar strings? Is like, that's not a valid question. Yeah. Stuff like that. It's not a valid question.
But the thing is then, is if you answer a question and then use that answer outside of its domain, therefore you're using it wrong. It's no longer valid.
Yeah.
So my argument would be, within that domain of gender studies, saying, okay, looking at social situations and stuff, I think within the domain of gender studies, it's probably valid to say there is no biological difference between males and females.
Is that with the XY chromosome thing you were talking about?
Well, I'm just I don't know enough about gender studies to say that, but I'm just going to say that maybe within the field of gender studies, like the specific one, if you say, or you have a question within that domain of gender studies and your answer is there is no biological difference between male and female, I'm probably going to say that you're correct within that domain.
The field.
But if you then try to use that answer into like hormone biology, you're going to be fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
You're going to be very wrong.
You're going to be very wrong.
I don't know if can you say very wrong? Like, are the degrees of...
Oh, that's a definitely invalid answer to say that the answer you got from gender studies, that there is no biological difference in the domain of like hormone science
therapy,
or whatever, that there is no biological difference is the wrong... Whilst the question and the answer, the language is the same.
Yeah, it's not...
It's wrong.
Yeah, it's not the same field. It's not the
so
same domain.
This is the problem, I think, is like you're trying to argue across domains of questioning and answering.
Well, part of the problem is that and this is where like the ideology of it steps back in, is that when they're talking about, because most of the stuff they talk about are like social situations and social inequality and imbalances and stuff like that. But the way that they look at it is... And this is why it's all like part of that Marxist kind of thing, and the social. That's why so many of them turn out as socialists, because they're using that economic the reason for like economic power difference.
Yeah.
So like class differences, they're using that and then applying it to a situation that it doesn't really work in. So they've gone from
outside of the domain.
They're applying it outside of the domain. So they're looking at. Because when a lot of this stuff was happening, obviously it's like, oh man, we've got landowners and those people are more powerful than us, and they're more powerful. The idea is that they're more powerful because they've taken it from you, which is not
I don't like that word taken though.
Well, that's kind of the way that they look at it, and so what they have is just like everyone started out should have equal stuff, and this person has more and you have less because they've taken your stuff. Is kind of one of the ways of looking at it, and it's pretty prevalent. And so what that ends up being in like a more of a social situation is that instead of it being like land or money like it kind of used to be,
I don't understand this argument.
Ends up being, it's ridiculous. It ends up being, they abstract it in a way that you shouldn't abstract it.
You can't say everyone deserves the same.
Well, yeah, that's part of that fundamental, like that bedrock. You've started somewhere that isn't quite right.
Yeah,
and this is that's what makes it a utopian vision, is that it's built on the idea everyone should have the same, which doesn't work. Yeah. It's a nice thing for sure,
but it's just like
it doesn't work.
Everyone like should have the same land for say. Everyone should have the same amount of land.
Yeah, congratulations, you've all got 2 square centimeters of land.
Yeah, or you have like a couple acres of land, but it's like
I don't even think you get that much, man. Can you imagine how much land you get in England?
Yeah,
right.
But that's the problem. It's like, how do you start then dividing up the land? Do you go by like the nutrients in the soil? Because
that's.
Do you want 2 acres of desert?
Yeah, it's like under what criteria?
Grow? It's ridiculous.
What criteria do you determine as?
So we just level
as fair land.
We just level planet Earth and mix all the soil so everyone's got the same. Then what? It's all underwater or something.
Well, it's like at what point? What do you categorize it as? Do you want to categorize as things that you can grow on? Or do you want to categorize it as space, as like that area? Do you want to categorize it by the amount of trees on there?
Yeah.
Like, or the amount of wildlife that it attracts so that you can hunt? Or the amount of rocks so that you have things to build with? Or like, how the fuck do you want to look at this?
Up, yeah.
How do you divide it fairly? Because it's not really fair. It doesn't matter how many ways you slice it. And different people are going to want different things. So how do you?
This is back to my.
You had like the
3 loaves of bread.
Argument. Loaves of bread argument. And that's a really good way of like, how do you make that fair? Because it like you can't make.
Do
it
you
fair.
want to explain the 3 loaves of bread argument?
You do. You've got a pretty good handle on it.
But this is like I gave that. I created that, and you've used it in more situations than me.
Well, yeah. So it's. Oh, yeah. How does it? It has been a little while. It's So there are 3 people. One of the people is really big.
He's a
really big, tall guy who eats a lot. And then just like 2 other guys, and one of them is gluten intolerant. Now, you have 3 loaves of bread, right?
Yeah.
One of them is a gluten-free
loaf of
bread, and the other 2 are just regular loaves.
One of them's like rye.
One of them's rye.
One of them's something. You get 3.
Anyway, but you got 3 loaves of bread. Now, how do you break this up? Because the big guy needs more sustenance than the other 2, but you can't then give him 1.5 loaves, because then there's the leftover for these guys, and then if you divide that equally in half, then the gluten intolerant guy gets bread he can't eat.
Yeah.
So, but then it's unfair to give
a
loaf of bread each to each of these people because the big guy needs more.
Yeah, one guy doesn't like rye bread.
One guy doesn't like rye bread. That's it. And so it's like,
yeah,
how do you divide this to make it fair? And the answer is that you kind of can't. Someone gets fucked.
Yeah, and the other one is like, okay, you give the loaf of rye bread. I'm remembering this too. I actually should probably write this one down.
Yeah, you should, because it's a good example.
I might write it and submit it to the magazine at school.
Yeah. It's probably a good thing to do.
And then like one of the, because the loaf of gluten intolerant bread is worth double the amount as the white loaf.
Yeah. Monetary wise, you're giving him more value than the other two. Yeah. So how do you
fairly divide this up?
Yeah.
Well, you can't.
You can't. That's it boils down to the fact that you can't. Yeah. So pretty got there in the end.
Yeah. Stumbled through that.
Yeah. It's been a while since I used that, but yeah, it's a useful thing. But yeah, so the whole idea that everyone should have equal resource it's impossible from the get-go, because it depends on under what grounds you are valuing resource, and it's not just like how you're valuing resource, it's how other people who are getting the resources value the resources that they're getting.
Yeah.
So there's way too much going on for you to just quantify and distribute.
Yeah.
Which is kind of how these people view it. And so when you start looking at the social way that's implicated, is that people get annoyed that other people have gotten ahead in life. Because that's kind of what it is. Right? They're getting annoyed that other people have more than they do. Socially
like later
speaking.
On? Or
well, yeah, again, it depends on how you view it.
Yeah, right.
Because if you're 18 and you get annoyed that this 55-year-old guy has a house and a car and a dog and really nice lawns and shit, you're kind of like being an idiot, because maybe at 55 you'll be there too if you work.
Yeah.
Right? That's the idea. So there's like, how do you want to view it? There's that going on.
Conversely, it's like, I thought about it the other day. It's like, I know you and I, we both grew up not rich.
No. Not super bad, but not
we
rich
weren't
either.
poor, like we were starving, but we had to give up things.
Yeah, for
we
sure.
couldn't do everything that we wanted to do.
No.
But you look at us now compared to people who had everything when they were growing up, and they're completely fucked.
Yeah, they're useless.
Directionless, useless, they're soft.
Well, again, it depends on how you want to look.
No, they're soft.
They are soft in my.
They're not
my
strong.
view.
They can't tolerate. Can't tolerate uncomfortableness.
Well, that's one of the things that I've noticed, is that a lot of people don't have a good handle on the difference between discomfort and pain.
Yeah.
And so that's not good, right? I mean, you can't tell the difference between when something is pushing your boundaries and when something is hurting you.
Yeah.
It's that's a pretty important distinction to make. How do you grow if you can't tell whether something's making you grow or whether something's damaging you?
Yeah, you can't tell the difference between something that's like annoying you or something that's like a hazard.
Yeah.
There's a difference between the two.
I have this theory about why you shouldn't get rid of too many of society's problems. And one of them was that it removes the lowest point people can sink to. Yeah. And so the lowest point, all of a sudden, it might look really low, but it's really not that low. And so it's kind of like you get those first world problems, like, oh man, my parents didn't buy me the newest iPhones. This is the fucking worst thing since Nazi Germany. It's like, no, it's not.
It's not.
It's not. It's like, I think Bill Burr had a thing about it, right? It's like changing from the star rating system to like a thumbs up, thumbs down.
Oh, yeah.
It's like stubbed your toe, thumbs down, Hitler, thumbs down.
Yeah, it's not even the same thing.
Fuck. What do you... Yeah, so it's like, you don't want to remove too many of the worst things that can happen to you. Like, you want to make sure that it doesn't irreparably fuck your life, but you want to make sure that there's some bad things that can happen to you.
You want to fucking hurt when you fall over.
Yeah, for sure. Otherwise you don't realise how bad falling over can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and... Yeah, so it removes that lowest problem, and then people end up viewing, I don't get new clothes all the time as a problem, as opposed to, man, I'm freezing and I can't get a jacket.
Yeah.
Those kind of become the same problem, and they shouldn't.
They're not the same problem.
They're not the same problem at all. Yeah, so there's a bunch of things like that going on.
Or I can't eat 5-star dinner.
Versus I can't.
I'm fucking starving.
Yeah, I think I told you about this dude in my accounting class. Accounting just broke me for business too. I didn't particularly like it before, but it was okay. And then I did accounting, and it just fucked me. I just hated it all.
I'm done.
Yeah, pretty much.
I didn't think you were going to learn much out of that anyway.
No, I learned a little bit. Most of it is just getting your head around jargon, but after that, it's just bad psychology, bad maths.
Nothing you could teach yourself.
No, not
nothing you couldn't teach yourself.
Nothing that you couldn't teach yourself, and most of it is conceptually. If you can abstract well, you'll get your head around everything that they can do.
Teach,
right? Anyway. So this guy, his parents went on holidays, and they left him. They were gone for a week, and they left him like $500.
Oh wow!
Right, for food.
Fuck, they can live off like 50 for a week, man.
Fuck yeah! $500 for food a week, dude.
You can eat out every fucking day.
Yeah, well, that was the idea, right? Is that he was then going to be able to comfortably go out and eat out every day because obviously this kid couldn't cook.
How can you have a child like that? Fuck.
Well, even
how old was he?
I'm not. He might have been about. He was old enough to get into uni, but I suspect he'd only just come out of school, so he might have been 18, 19.
I could live off myself at that age.
I mean, I'm not a good cook, but I can cook enough to give myself good sustenance.
Oh, but come on, man! There's fucking whole internet of how to cook.
Yeah, I know, right? And that's the other thing. Just fucking look up a recipe, dude.
So if we had $500.
Anyway, so this guy had like $500, right, for a week of food.
Wow.
And the first thing he did was went and bought himself a suit.
Oh, wow.
Like, pretty... well, I don't want to say pretty expensive suit, because those things can get pretty expensive.
So he spent most of his money.
But he spent most of his money on a suit. And then was wearing this suit in class, showing it off to people, and was saying, it's like, oh, yeah, it's like this nice suit. I spent like $450 on it. Blah, blah, blah. And then in like the same conversation, he got on to how his parents hadn't left him enough money for food. And I was like looking at this guy, and I was like, you realise that they left you $500 for food and not for buying a fucking suit, you dickhead. And it just didn't enter his head that the money was set aside so that he could eat. Right? I mean, like... As a parent, though, at that point, you can't really help them, right? That you can't teach them, like, oh, we're going on a holiday in 2 weeks. We're leaving this money for you to eat. Don't spend it on clothes. Like...
And then you spend it on clothes, like, who are you going to feel sorry for?
Well, it's like, I sure as fuck don't feel sorry for him.
Fucking
he also used to do this thing where he would bring a packet of biscuits in for the teacher every class, and then... Like, he'd go, and he's like, I don't know, like this pseudo-bribing of the teacher. He thought it made him look cool or something that looked like he puffed himself up a little bit whenever he handed them out. And then I'd eat half the biscuits.
Just on principle?
Yeah, well, no, I'd be sitting there, and most of the time I sit in front of the teacher so I can hear him, because I'm, a little bit hard of hearing. And so... I'd be sitting in front of the teacher, and the teacher would just like push them at me, and I'd just fucking munch as the class went on. Or I'd take a bunch of biscuits at the end, because I don't know whether he didn't like biscuits or he didn't like taking biscuits from students.
I wouldn't take food from students.
Yeah, right? So anyway, I fucking was just like munching a shitload of Chocky Bickies that this guy was bringing in. I was like, I'm not going to tell him not to, but it's like, what are you doing? It's like, because you can kind of see that he's like peacocking a little bit.
Oh, fucking oath, man.
Oh yeah, if I haven't said the term peacocking, it basically means like puffing yourself up and making yourself look impressive and for social gain, more or less. So guys typically do it when they start getting into fights.
Oh, dude.
I use the term peacocking.
I call it the rooster. They get the
rooster.
It's
the same thing.
It's puff their chest out and they do that head bob thing. Like, come on, bro.
Oh yeah.
Put the fucking...
I call it peacocking, but it's the same thing.
I like that one better, actually.
Yeah. So like they flare their tail out and they look big and impressive and shit like that, and it's just there's not much going on.
Their chest out.
They're still a tiny little fucking bird.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Snap their neck and eat them. You
Pretty
can't do that with humans, though.
No, you don't get the right kind of proteins.
No.
Apart from all of the other things going on.
But, like, a guy like that who made that sort of mistake, like 3 days of being hungry should probably help him figure that out.
But what I think he'll probably do is call his parents and get sent more money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
But, like, how can you extract that sort of rationale into the future? That dude's going to end up either broke or dead.
Well, it's like he's going to look at... Even because...
The lessons...
It's not that he's bad at the stuff we were doing. And the class was full of these people, mind you. This is what fucked me. It was this guy, a few of the other guys in there, and like this group work that I had to do with a few of them, and I just...
Well, the story you told me that really fucked with my head was like, you were talking about these guys who like told you, oh, we're going to start a business, and you were like, well, what are you going to do for your business?
I was talking this... Yeah, pretty much. I was talking to this kid on the train, and he'd seen me in the lectures, and he like came up and introduced himself, I don't know, because business people have this thing about, and I assume it's this innate idea about making contacts, right?
That's all right.
For the future.
And I swear if they could, they'd probably give you a business card if they had something to
fucking sure. For sure. Anyway, so it's like, because it happened a few times, and I like look around, and it's like I'm fairly antisocial, but I can still see the point of like meeting new people, and it's a useful thing to have. Anyway, so they have this just seems to be an inbuilt idea about making contacts, right? And so this guy went up and introduced himself to me, and I was talking to him, and he's just like, oh yeah, like so I was like, oh yeah, so you doing business, or what are you doing that for? He's like, oh, I want to, gonna start a business or something like that. And I'm like, cool, doing what? And he's like, oh, I don't really know yet.
You're like,
and I was like,
what?
What? Yeah, I was like, oh, so what do you like doing? And he's like, oh, I play music a little bit. And I'm like, cool, why don't you, have you thought about like maybe looking into band management or something? He's like, oh, that's a good idea. I was like, oh, you could look at how instruments are made and maybe open a business doing that. Because I think he played guitar a little bit. And he's like, oh, that's a good idea too. And I was like, you're welcome. Go for it.
Fuck me dead.
Yeah, but it was like, man, what do you...
Like, you can just start a business at home. You can do nothing.
You can
just make a website and go, this is my business.
Make a website. Make a blog about local bands in Melbourne.
Man, I don't get it. I don't get the motivation for I want to start a business, because that doesn't even seem like a goal. It seems like a step.
Yeah, right?
It's like, if your goal was like, I want to go for a run. It's like, that's not even defined as, that's the process of doing something. Like, a goal should be like, it's got to be quantifiable. It's like, I want to run 10 kilometers.
Yeah, otherwise it's a shit goal.
Otherwise, if your goal is to go for a run, you just run to the end of the driveway and back, and hey, I fucking hit
run up
my
the
goal.
street and got some ice cream.
Yeah, like,
it's
good
like,
work.
Well, what are you running for? Are you running to lose weight? Are you running to hit a particular fitness goal?
There's no goals. There's no goals, and there's
makes
nothing
it easy to give up,
and nothing measurable to measure your progress.
Yeah, which is why people give up on fitness things a lot.
It's like Bruce Lee was like, I want to make $1 million doing martial arts.
Yeah.
So he had the goal, make $1 million. He had the method of doing it, doing martial arts, and I think something about movies as well.
Well, yeah, he'd been involved in movies since he was a child, and I think he figured out pretty early on that if he wanted to make a decent impact and make a lot of money off it, that was how it was going to happen.
Yeah, but he had the means, he had the measure, and he had the
well, like the know-how, right?
Yeah, right. But just going, I want to start a business. Also, if you want to look at
weird philosophy people, he had a degree in philosophy. He went to university to study philosophy.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's waste.
But it's like,
I would love to study philosophy, but I just can't.
It's there's a certain kind of person that.
Yeah, like I would.
I think you'd do fine at it.
We'd be fine. I think I'd be fine at it. However, you're a lot more forgiving than me. I would be wrecking people, and I wouldn't care about hurting their feelings.
No, I typically don't, but I do it in a really measured way. And a lot of the time, right at the end, I'll like give them a little bit of an out to take, and that kind of lets them squirrel out, and then. It's like they'll talk to me later, and I might learn something from them later. They might have something to offer me.
If I had a feminist chick that was accusing me of doing all this shit, man, that's like for me. If a chick said that,
accusing you of doing things, it's accusing you of being things and being things that you can't help.
Yeah, but it's like at that point for me, that's the sign for me. Okay,
that's when I set the bridge on fire.
This is a free fall, and I don't give a fuck. If you just made this nasty, and I'm gonna stomp you now.
Yeah. Congratulations, you've gone from neutral to enemy. I'm clicking my little Age of Empires fucking thing here.
And luckily, I've just put 20 trebuchets right next to your castle to begin with.
I love doing that in that game. It's just like you sit there and you just surround their base with shit, and then you just click the enemy thing, and go blah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the little bit of that game that I played.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, I'm gonna tactically now choose to be your enemy, and I'm going to make sure that I'm positioned already to stab.
Yeah,
to get the final blow before I declare myself.
It's like, because typically the way I will approach, if I really want to just like smash someone in an argument, well, there's a couple of ways you do it, but one of the things that I like
break their legs first.
Yeah, it's hard to argue when they're screaming.
Yeah.
No, so it's like I don't look at it like I want it to be a fair contest.
No, you don't want it to
I don't want it to be a contest at all.
Yeah.
So I'll sit there and you just like calmly learn everything you can about their opinion, and then you figure out everything that you need to do to crush it before time, and then you wait for them to fuck up.
And then bam.
And it's more like a hunting kind of thing, right?
Yeah, once they're on the back foot.
Well, that's it.
That's it.
And like I'm pretty used to arguing with both mum and dad at the same time, and they're both fairly vocal. So when I get going, I can run over the top of
verbal
people.
Fencing.
Yeah, it's like yeah, it's kind of what it is.
Once you have the open...
But it's like, it's not just verbal fencing, it's like, it's verbal fencing with, like, slightly physically violent undertones, and you'll attack their character. So it's like, I'm kind of used to doing the whole thing at once, and it's really paying off for me, because I'm good at doing it.
Yeah, because, like, the thing is, it's like, okay, you get beaten in an argument. If the person gets angry and tries to get physically violent,
well,
you don't care.
No, that's it. It's just like, what are you going to do to me?
You say your argument is phenomenal. Your arguing is phenomenal. So at the sheer end, you should be able to end most verbal arguments in a draw.
Well yeah, that's most of the time, I can pretty calmly just dissect whatever it is that they're doing, and
yeah.
But even if they do get like man, most of the people there, martial arts stuff, I guess, but it's like I'm so much more combatively able.
Yeah.
Everyone in my surrounding, it's like, what are you going to do to me? You going to stand up and yell at me? What are you going to try and punch me? It's like I haven't been punched before.
Yeah.
Do it. Probably hurt your hand.
And I'll thump you one time.
Like, I wouldn't even have to do that, because most of the time, this is one of the cool things about Kyokushin, was just like, people hit me and they get tired. It's just like, I don't care anymore. It's like, you can't do anything.
Just protect your head.
Well, that's it. It's just like, even if they like scone me on the top and they hurt their hand, it's like, I'm not going to feel the need to hit them, because most of the time they're going to be like, you can see when people hit you and then they get hurt, because they kind of like back up a little bit, and they'll try and look like they're on the front foot, but you can tell when people hurt themselves. And so it's just like, oh, well, now I've won.
Yeah, but see, that for me, if someone physically hit me, it's like, I'd be like,
fucking smash them.
I'd be like, fuck yeah, now
I get to hurt you.
Now I get to hurt you. Now there is no,
Well, yeah, it's just like, you have removed these barriers yourself. Good luck.
Now the flood comes.
Yeah, that's it. No, I have this thing about watching people fuck themselves up too. That I really like watching. Which is a little mean, but it is what it is.
Anyway.
And it's just like, one of the cool things about watching
getting
people
angry
do
just
that. Getting antsy for it.
Oh, fuck, I gotta go lift, man.
Yeah, what time is it?
It's 2:00.
Yeah.
I've been talking for an hour.
Oh, have we?
Yeah.
Huh. Anyway, yeah, well, so one of the things that...
Finish this conversation.
Yeah.
Just go. One of the things.
So one of the things that is funny about that physicality sort of side of things, I find, is that when people hit you and hurt themselves, like, there's absolutely nothing they can do about that. Especially if you don't get mad at them. Because it's like, well, it's not even like they can morally take any kind of high ground
anymore. They just lost it.
They can't. They lost everything. There's nothing they can do. They might have argued with you until like, let's say you're both getting worked up. But if you're arguing to the point and then they make it physical and you don't do anything and they get hurt.
Yeah, I guess that's the trifecta, isn't it?
It really is. It's like
you've won everything with that.
I've won
ever.
everything. Like, I have the moral high ground. You've been hurt, and I've beaten your argument.
Yeah.
It's like that's it. You've lost.
Yeah, you've lost everything. You lost
everything, and you can't get back at me in any way possible. If you try and if you broke your hand on my face, how on earth do you plan to sue me for that?
Yeah.
You broke your hand on my face. You know,
yeah, that's true.
It's like,
I guess if you did wallop them, then
they have some kind of potentially legal recourse, right?
You only get you get 2 out of 3.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I like the whole.
I guess you'd save that walloping for like an enemy.
Well, that would be something like, or or it's, for me, if I'm gonna hit someone and hurt them, it's typically not because they've tried to hit me and hurt me. It might be because of some, something like they've hurt a friend of mine that couldn't do anything, or I've seen them just take advantage of someone in a really horrible way. And even then, it's more likely I'm just going to wait until they're not looking and just like push them down a flight of stairs. You know, it's like I don't want it to be a fair physical fight. I want to hunt them.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just
different attitude.
If I'm gonna do violence to someone, it's gonna be bad violence. And so I think that's the way that it's best to approach most conflict. I would think.
No, I'd push them down the stairs,
but that kind of like, I'm sure it's probably in the Art of War somewhere, right? It would have to be,
it is.
right?
It is in the Art of War.
Yeah, it's like, but my view on it is that
it's like attack your opponent when they're not ready.
Well, yeah, that's part of it. The way I view it is, and that was after like studying a bunch of self-defense stuff, is the most effective forms of violence are like non-consensual criminal violence, right? And so what that typically looks like, because like there's consensual violence, which is two blokes getting into a street fight.
Square off.
Yeah, square off and have a punch on. And then there's, I mugged someone at an ATM.
Yeah.
When you mug someone at an ATM, you don't announce yourself, peacock, and then fight them.
You just go doof.
You smack them in the back of the head as they've walked down the road before they get back to their car with a bunch of money in their wallet.
Yeah.
And you wait for them and you've watched what they do.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I'm going to take into account all of your patterns, all of the things that you do, and then I'm going to
hit you.
Yeah. And
so it's more of a hit then.
It's not a fight. It's a hunt.
Yeah.
That's what you do with an animal, right?
Yeah.
And in the same way as you don't square up and fist fight an animal, like that's not how you hunt. It's the wrong kind of violence.
Yeah.
You spear them. Or you shoot them.
Or you just ambush them.
You ambush them, right? You don't make it fair. You don't let them know that you're there. You watch their patterns. You watch how they move, the places that they normally go, and then you hit them when they're least likely to be able to do anything. Yeah. And you sure as fuck use every advantage that you can.
Yeah.
It's not like you go and you fist fight a fucking bear.
Or a deer or something.
Yeah, or a deer. Well, no, it's like, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, true.
So that would be how I typically approach debates, as well as if I have to use violence in some manner. It's like,
you want to go for the hunt.
It's not a fight, it's a hunt. Yeah. I'm sure that's a happy place to leave a podcast at, right?
That's interesting, man. It's definitely a different way of looking at it.
Well, it is. That's why violence is not what people think violence is, for a lot of ways.
No, blood is not violence.
No,
that's for
it's
sure.
not.
I definitely know that the scarier form of violence is the hunt.
Well, for sure, right? If you think someone's hunting you, how fucking paranoid do people get?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's like, and that's the worst part about consensual violence too, right? You bash the shit out of somebody, and then you kind of spend the next few weeks worrying about whether they're going to ambush you with a bunch of their mates.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
On top of everything else that can happen.
For sure.
Yeah. So it's like,
I hear. Anyway, thanks for listening, I guess. That's the end of that conversation. We'll leave it on a happy note.
Yeah.
Does this count as being illegal, though?
No, because you haven't done anything. You just talk about doing things. That's not illegal.
Yes, it's not illegal at all.
Not in this country.
Yet.
Well, yeah.
Alright.
Well, not for this kind of thing either. I mean, it's not like we're saying we are going to do it to people. It's like, if I was going to do it, this is how I would do it.
Yeah, but some people can use that as a, what do they call it? Thingy.
A thingy.
If I was going to shoot up a school, but I wasn't, this is how I'd do it.
Yeah, well.
But I think
I'm not going to shoot up a school, eh?
I think we've talked about it abstractly enough that...
well, yeah, I mean, it's more like strategy rather than
a manifesto.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. I don't give a fuck, man.
Yeah, anyway, it's not like anyone listens to these.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, I mean, the army use the same sort of tactics as well.
I mean, like, the army doesn't just... How long has it been since they had pitched battles? How effective was guerrilla warfare?
Yeah, I know, right?
It's exactly the same kind of tactic, right? It's a hit and run. You watch what they're doing and you strike when they don't want you to strike.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't fucking announce what you're doing.
No.
It's like, yeah.
It just reminds me of this scene from Blackadder, where he's like, we're going to do what the Hun least expect. And what's that? Do the same thing we've done for the last 17 times.
Yeah.
What, just charge into battle? And he's like, what? We have a spy in the room. No, it's the same thing we've done for the last 17 times. We must have a spy. Why is that? Because they know exactly what we plan to do. Yes, it's because we've done it before 18 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Stephen Fry was in that. I think it's his
he
character.
was, wasn't he? Yeah, he was in that, and so was Hugh Laurie.
I don't know. I haven't watched heaps of it.
I think he was at one point. Anyway, yeah, that was a fun show. That one. I haven't watched a lot of it, but I've seen a little bit of like the army season.
Yeah,
when they're in
when they're at the front.
Yeah, they're in the trenches or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty funny.
Anyway, all right.
Thanks for watching. Off. You want to make a noise? Well, it's popped up on your one.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Just on this one. Stop.